We have 5 films in We Fight the Evil and the Deadites. We have 5 films that gave us a groovy time. So let's rank all 5 Evil Dead films, from my weakest to my favorite. Hello everybody, I'm Jay Mera and welcome back to another ranking video. This is the second time I'm gonna do a ranking video of a horror franchise. A month ago I did the ranking of all the 6 Scream films when the 6th Scream film came out. Scream is my favorite horror franchise of all time, but now we have a new Evil Dead film in the theaters, and this was a good time to rank all 5 Evil Dead movies. And Evil Dead is just an amazing and fun horror franchise. Scream is perhaps my favorite, but Evil Dead is certainly in the top 5, because I had so much fun with all these films in this franchise. Evil Dead is just a fun time, a bloody time, a gory time. It's Evil Dead, and Evil Dead is an amazing horror franchise, but it's also a bit a mixture of subgenres of the genre. Like Evil Dead is this cabin in the woods horror, where a group of friends go into this cabin in the woods and then crazy things starting to happen to the friends. But you can also see Evil Dead as like some kind of zombie movie, because people are coming back from the dead and they are called deadites, but you can see them as some kind of zombie. And they are also possession films, because the deadites, so the so-called zombies, they are possessed by some kind of evil and they are not the real people anymore. So yeah, there are a bit of possession in these movies as well. And we have 5 films in this franchise. It started all the way back in 1981 with the first Evil Dead, a very low budget horror film directed by Sam Raimi. That was, by the way, his debut movie. He directed 2 more Evil Dead movies, Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn and Army of Darkness. Then people had to wait till 2013 for a new Evil Dead movie. That's almost 20 years, more than 20 years actually. And then we had the reboot of Evil Dead by Fede Alvarez. Then we had a TV show, Ash vs. Evil Dead, that was 3 seasons long. And now we have a new movie, Evil Dead Rise. So let's rank all 5 Evil Dead movies from my weakest to my favorite. And you know, this is a subjective list. My favorite should not be your favorite. You can have a completely other list, that is fine. That makes it more interesting. So this is my list, and at number 5 we have my least favorite. Still, I can have fun with this movie, and that is Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness is actually the 3rd part of the Sam Raimi Evil Dead trilogy, and this is basically Ash in the Dark Ages. Ash is back in time all the way to the medieval times, and Ash has to fight evil in the medieval times, and that's a very cool concept. But for me, Army of Darkness is a bit too much comedy and a bit less horror. The balance was not right for me here, and like everything we see, it's actually cool, but it does not really feel Evil Dead for me, so that's why it's number 5. But still, I have a good time with this, mostly because of the concept. At number 4, we have the reboot by Fede Alvarez, the reboot from 2013, and I have to say, this is a great reboot. I really love this reboot, especially that 3rd act. For me, that 3rd act made the movie. The 3rd act, when the main character has to fight her evil doppelganger, her double, in this woods, when blood is raining, so it's also a gory, bloody end of an Evil Dead movie, but it's cool. When I think on Evil Dead 2013, I think on that scene. The rest of the movie, so everything before that, is also fine. It's, you know that this filmmaker is also a horror fan and a fan of Evil Dead. You can really tell that, and it's mostly its own thing, but also an homage to the previous Evil Deads. But the only thing is that the first act and the second act is not so memorable for me like the third act. But what is interesting on this reboot is that it really focused on drug abuse. That is very interesting for an Evil Dead film. So that was cool. That was something cool in the film. Number 3. And my number 3 now used to be my number 1 when I first saw all these movies. And that is Evil Dead 2. Dead by Dawn. And this movie is just the most fun one in the franchise. This has the right balance between all the horror stuff we got from the first one, but all the cool comedy stuff we know of Ash, and we love Ash because of that. And in this movie, Ash actually becomes the Ash we all know and eventually got his own television show. Ash is such a cool character, especially in this movie. In this movie he loses his hand and he replaces it with a chainsaw, and with his gun in his other hand he's fighting the Deadites, the Evil Dead. That is just cool. The only issue is a bit that the first act is actually a do-over of the first one, but just a lot faster. We had to do that, so we got to do all that crazy cool stuff of Ash. It's just Ash in this cabin fighting Evil Dead, and that's just a cool movie. At number 2, we have the original, The Evil Dead by Sam Raimi. And for me, The Evil Dead is actually a blueprint of all the Cabin in the Woods films. Sam Raimi, it was his first movie. He made this movie like he was like 21, 22 years old, very young. He had a very limited budget, but he really wanted to make this movie. And with the limited budget he had, he made actually a horror classic. And that is what the first Evil Dead is. It's a horror classic. And it was the start of this amazing franchise. And the first Evil Dead feels the most horror. This is really a horror film. All the comedy stuff in the movies after that and TV show was not present in this first movie yet. And also very cool about this movie is that in this film we have a final boy. Most horror films are mostly about a final girl. So it's not really common to have a horror film that has a final boy. So that was really cool. And yeah, it feels very low budget, it feels cheap, but that is also the charm of this film. So I love Evil Dead, the first one. At my first watch of this franchise, I did bother a bit of this cheap look about this 40-year-old movie by then. But in my second watch, I actually appreciated this film for what it was and what was Sam Raimi going for. So yeah, horror deserving to be called horror classic. But my first one, maybe a surprise for some of you, is actually the new one, Evil Dead Rise. I did a whole review of that. If you want to know my details on the movie, please check out my review. But it comes at number 1 for the simple reason that I had a bloody good time with this film. This film is so entertaining. It is the most entertaining for me, and yeah, from start to finish I enjoyed it a lot. I have not much negatives to say on this movie. It's just, yeah, a fun ride to sit through. I love this movie. So yeah, at this point it's my number 1. Maybe I'm in a bit of a honeymoon phase with this film right now, but we shall see in the future. But yeah, I just think this is a great Evil Dead movie. It had everything I wanted from an Evil Dead film. It even refers to all the other Evil Dead films in subtle ways and creative ways, so yeah, that's also a plus on this film. So guys, this was my Evil Dead ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. Always be free to give your ranking in the comments. Love to read those. Always interested in Evil Dead rankings. Especially in what your favorite Evil Dead movie is. So yeah, let me know, and yeah, till the next time.